It's great when you feel motivated, but you're not going to feel motivated all the time, and that's just the ugly truth. There's going to be times where you feel bored, where you don't want to do something, but unfortunately, you got to do it anyways. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Coach Cody podcast. So today we are going to talk about, basically how to get unstuck. I don't know if you've had those moments where you have all intentions of getting back on track, or maybe you feel like you have to restart every weekend and, you get sick of your own bullshit and tell yourself tomorrow is the day, no questions asked, non-negotiable, we're changing shit. And then before you know it, you're doing the same old bad habit shit that you did the day before. And you're like, okay, tomorrow, so how do you get out of that loop? How do you actually follow through and, get back on track and get unstuck from, feeling like you just can't seem to get your shit together? So yeah, before that though, Dez, how's it going? What's new? How's life?
Well, not much. I feel like every week these, except for the bodybuilding one, these are like geared towards me. I'm like, what are you trying to do here, Cody? Just kidding.
I mean, if you feel called
I
out,
feel attacked.
Yeah.
Oh, life's good. It's just been busy, getting ready for school start tomorrow and dealing with the daily influx of news and being overwhelmed by all the things going on. So just trying to focus on what we can control and chill as much as possible, which is currently not much, but we're trying,
Yeah.
How are you?
Pretty good. Same, kind of trying to just pay attention to everything that's going on without also having it, get in your head and
Mm-hmm.
start anxiety and stuff. It's always this fine line of staying informed and not allowing your anxiety or your imagination take over and turn it into worst case scenario instantly. So yeah, that's always fun.
It's hard to not let it all feel like an emergency,
Yeah. It's hard to know if we feel, or if I feel thankful for how much information we have available of everything going on versus, back in the day when, dictators took over. It's like you didn't really hear the day-to-day news, or
you gotta wait for the newspaper to be delivered.
Yeah. And you really had to put a lot of trust in the news. And I feel like it just wasn't ideal. And so it's like we have a lot of information at our fingertips, which can be a blessing or a curse. So you have to try to filter it out yourself. And sometimes it's just really overwhelming to do.
It is, especially when it feels like the last year or so. I have learned so much about how little you can actually trust the news on both sides, because it really is geared towards who they cater to, their audience.
100%.
And so it's hard these days to tell what's real, what's actually happening. Even, Threads versus X, right? You see different things said on Threads versus different things on X. Threads is super liberal and your feed is full of Pete Buttigieg and all this stuff, and then X is MAGA. And literally you can find articles about the same topic with two completely different perspectives and and perceptions of reality. So then you're left going, what the fuck?
Yeah. You're left trying to figure out, what to think.
Yeah.
Which isn't the worst. It's always good to look at both sides, form your own opinions of things. But it's hard to really, what is accurate, what is not. And there's usually truths a little bit on each side. So you have to kind of figure, well, which one am I going to run with? What decisions am I going to make based off the information I have? Yeah. But I think it's also worth looking at other, independents, people who are kind of in the middle of things for their opinion on things as well. Because, they're doing the same thing, but maybe they're more educated in it, or maybe they are working in politics. And so you're kind of like, okay, I'll kind of listen to what this person has to say and then see if that kind of matches up.
Yeah. Anybody can report the news these days. So
literally,
we could be news reporters if we wanted. So it's okay.
Yeah. So I think, it's good that so many people are, independent reporters these days. So it's like, if you can't trust CNN, Fox News, all those major news networks, at least you do have people who are, I feel like they're more kind of in the trenches. They're, they still have I mean, any Joe Schmo can do it, which is a little concerning, but there are people who are legit journalists who are just independent journalists. And
Yeah.
it helps to kind of have like a variety of those independent journalists that you kind of take some
Yeah.
information from, or, maybe they have feet on the ground and they can show you what's happening. Because that's the hard part when you're not there. You don't really know what to believe, like this stuff happening in DC. It's kind of like, we're not there. We see videos, but like,
Oh.
it's so easy to take just like a little portion of something and post a clip, or maybe it's even not even real. AI makes you question
Or could
absolutely fucking
yeah.
everything.
Literally. Is
So,
this AI? Is this AI? How many times a
yeah,
week do I ask that?
yeah,
Or like, are they using video from another event?
yeah, that happens too. So you just
It's
never
just
know.
like, whoa, propaganda from both sides. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. It's like, you never know. They could be using, I saw they're pulling in the National Guard into DC. And then you wonder, like, okay, are they using clips from their like military parade? Or is this like
Right?
actual clips? So you really
Yeah.
have to pay attention to every little detail and
Hmm.
vet everything before you
Yeah.
just take it. And there was a left leaning account. There's a couple of them that posted this Joe Rogan clip that was very obviously AI, but also confirmed AI, and that he didn't say that in the podcast that he was,
Yeah.
supposedly saying the things he said. So it's just kind of like,
I didn't catch that one. I thought it was real. I was like, oh, damn it.
yeah,
So don't believe everything you hear, guys,
or even see at this point.
or see.
So
Yeah.
unless it's like your own two eyes in person, that's the only time you can really believe it. I mean, if you're not
Boy,
hallucinating, you're on drugs. So don't believe that if
what
you
world
are.
are we living in?
Yeah, I don't know. But I guess
Anyways.
the good news is if you're looking for something to focus on outside of the news and whatever is happening in the US, you can focus on your health or getting back on track. And maybe getting too involved with the news is something that's making it hard. It's impacting your mental health, and that's making you struggle with staying focused and taking care of yourself. So, should we just kind of
100.
dive in and
Let's
all
go.
right. All right. So, yeah. So, just to share kind of my experience, this past year or two, like, has been really, I mean, I stayed pretty consistent and pushed through as long as I could. I feel like I have taken a step back of pushing myself, especially more recently within the past, like, a few months or so, when I got my blood work and realized, okay, I really actually need to take a step back, or else, I'm not gonna get better. I'm not gonna get energy back. But, I'm starting to get some energy back. I'm starting to feel like I want to get more to where I used to be, where I'm tracking everything, I'm checking in, have a purpose with my eating and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been enjoying just kind of having some time off, being creative and cooking and stuff. But I know it's not something I can do forever. If you have goals, and you got to get
Hmm.
back on track with things. And so
Yeah.
I've been kind of having that spin in my mind. Okay, what day am I going to get back on track? You're never going to get back to where you were. You feel kind of almost like helpless in a sense, because it's just feels like this massive barrier, and it feels overwhelming almost. So basically, I'm trying to focus on doing the little things and trying to, see that in a positive light, and also reminding myself that sometimes, the hard thing for people is to push themselves and, really dive in and track everything and be more disciplined. Sometimes the hard part for some people is taking a step back and, taking a time to not be so disciplined or like structured and stuff. So you really got to know yourself and where you're at and what you need in the moment. But I'm definitely at a point where I need to start taking steps forward to get back into the more structured and disciplined part of things. And basically, the biggest thing, because feeling overwhelmed, it's like you have to kind of start small. Otherwise, you just you keep beating yourself up because you make too big of goals. Just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna jump back into tracking everything, going balls to the wall, working out, 5, 6 days a week, cardio, whatever. And then when you don't do it, you're kind of like, well, fuck. And
That's a
then
hard fall.
yeah, so you
It's
gotta.
setting yourself up for failure there.
Yeah. 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 So, how about you? Any
I mean, yeah,
experiences?
it's funny, I think that, we complement each other in so many ways. We are, like, opposite sides of the spectrum on this, right? You are the one who has to actually push yourself to back off, and I am the one who has to push myself to do the things because I get overwhelmed so easily, and, I actually dealt with that quite a bit this year. When we first started working together, I was just, well, I had a lot more energy. I was a lot more gung ho and just like, I was focused. I was in it and I just did it. And I lost a lot of weight very, very quickly and did really well. And I was very proud of that. And then life happened over the last few years. And definitely it's been harder to get back out of that stuck mode. And I mean, we've gotten to the point where we're just trying to get me on a routine at this point. I mean, because it's you're right, like, some people just get extremely overwhelmed at trying to do all the things, and then you're like, "Okay, tomorrow's my day. I'm gonna start it, and I'm gonna do it, and this is gonna be it, and no turning back." And then tomorrow you fuck up, "Why can't I get my shit together?" So, this has been actually a good exercise of, like, learning the importance of doing the little things, making sure you're getting to bed on time, that kind of thing, and because it all affects the rest of it, right? Like it's a domino effect. You don't get to sleep on time, everything else gets messed up from there. So, yeah. So we're kind of in that with me right now, and just trying to get me in that just so I can feel better and take better care of myself because I have absolutely let the craziness. Truly, I mean, yeah, the move has been crazy and stuff, but truly since the election, I've had a very hard time with my mental health, and I've definitely just had a lot of anxiety issues and stuff like that, and so I've definitely let it just kind of take over. And then anything like tracking, blah blah blah, like tracking, weighing yourself every day, everything just feels like impossible because you're like, well, I'm going to fuck it up anyways, And so it's definitely hard, but I feel like we're slowly getting me to where I can feel like I'm getting back to making some movement that I need to be making. I wouldn't say progress yet, but even just not sliding all the way back like I felt like I was doing feels like progress to me. You know?
Yeah, it
So
is for sure.
yeah.
So, basically, there's some pillars or foundations to make sure you have in place that, when you're trying to get back on track, kind of check them off, see where you're at, and also pay attention to how these things can impact your ability to get back on track, and then kind of gauge what you might realistically be able to do. And I think that's the key. What can you realistically do? Something that might be so
Yeah.
small, you might feel like it's insignificant, but if you do it, that helps you kind of build some momentum. And there's nothing that's too small because it's either
No.
you do something that you think is too small or you don't do anything at all. And what's going to get you even a little bit closer to your goals? The thing
The
that you
small
think is
things.
too small.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mental health, I feel like is number one foundation of everything. If your mental health is off, it's going to make everything feel exponentially harder. And of course, your physical health does impact your mental health. This doesn't mean like just not doing anything because, you're anxious or depressed because movement with your body and stuff can also help those things. So it's a team
Mhm.
effort there. Your head is still attached to your body, but we like to pretend it's not, but it very much is. So things like depression, anxiety, stress, those can physically impact your recovery, like your energy, your appetite, your performance. I know for me personally, nothing impacts my performance more than when I am stressed. I feel more tired. I feel weak. I just feel off.
You're
And
super on edge.
yeah. And it took
Yeah.
a while for me to really make that connection.
Mhm.
And, it's almost physical feeling, which is why
Absolutely.
I thought for the longest time that it was just in my head when there really was
Sure.
like a physical
Sure.
thing going on. Because I've had times in the past where, um, it feels so physical. You get blood work, but you're fine.
Mhm.
And it's just, depression or something along those lines.
Right.
So I was just like,
You're like,
it's
"Oh,
just
I just need to not be
depression.
stressed. My stress has just gotta get better. It'll be fine."
Yeah. Yeah. So mental health stress is something it encompasses, like it impacts everything because sleep, eating, all that stuff. So you have to make sure you're at least doing the bare minimum to work on your mental health, whether that's talking to someone, a
Mhm.
therapist, even doing again the small things which are going to be helpful for mental health, a little bit of movement, it's just a walk throughout the day, petting your dog, talking to a friend, like what helps support your mental health the best. So just kind of creating this list of things that you might be able to do that is going to help boost your mood or kind of get you more of where you need to be. But yeah, it's that nervous system dysregulation that can really, really mess with you. The chronic stress starts to impact you physically after a while, as I found out. So you really have
Yeah.
to, again, be mindful of your stress levels. And,
Mhm.
if you need to take an extra rest day, you need to take a step back. Don't abuse that and being like, I'm just really stressed. I'm not going to do anything today.
Right.
There's a balance you need to find, and you'll start to learn yourself more. But again, it's you have to make sure you're not trying to justify taking an extra rest day because you don't feel like it.
Right.
So yeah, supporting your mental health is part of your training plan. So it's best if you work that in. If you can work in a mental health day into your week as if it is your training, do it. So yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
What are
I think
your
it's important to have that game plan. I think that's something we've worked on together and I've worked on with my therapist of like, okay, because I struggle with binge eating. I have for a long time. And when my stress is highest and my anxiety is highest, I go to binge, right? That's what I do. And so we've, often had those conversations of like, okay, what are the things you can do when you feel like you're just about to binge because you're stressed as fuck and you feel like you're going to explode? And make that list of those things you can do. The nervous system, regulation, meditation, put on a meditation, do some breathing, go for a walk, put a one of my therapists told me, put a pack of ice under your armpit because apparently that helps like calm down the vagus nerve or whatever, and like actually calms you, which it actually works. It's crazy, but I've done it like when I've had like the highest anxiety and it really does work. And so it's like remembering to do those things, especially when you've kind of like let your mental health run your life. Cause that's a very common thing, right? I'm not mentally well. I'm just gonna whatever, right? When
Yeah.
you let your mental health run your life for so long, it takes a little bit of habit forming, right? Of like, I'm feeling this way, I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
journaling, that kind of thing. And so it's something I am working on all the time. And sometimes I don't do well at it. Sometimes I don't, but it's like, okay, well, next time I will, and just checking in with friends, checking in with your therapist regularly, super, super important. Journaling, you feel that energy in your body, the depression, the stress, the anxiety, and you internalize it, right? And journaling, I think, is one of the number one things you can do because actually writing and getting it out is so cathartic and it is so helpful in healing and calming yourself. I have not once sat down to journal and not been like, damn, every time I do it, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I did that. I have not ever been like, I shouldn't have done that. That was a waste of time, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by journaling, feeling like they need to make it perfect or that they're writing to someone. And it's like literally it could be a list, just list form. Just go. Like
Yeah.
you're the only one that's gonna read it. So it doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to make sense. Just to anyone
Yeah.
but you. So just a
Right.
little journal tip there.
Yeah.
You don't need to write a book. You just need to get shit out of your brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it comes to like the mental health part of things, it's just thinking, what are some, you don't want to just stop doing things, like I said, because you're dealing with stress or whatever. It just means you might need to modify. So ask yourself, or like if you're dreading the gym because you're feeling stressed and you're tired, instead of being like, I'm just not going to go to the gym today, ask yourself, what can I do? Or try to frame it in just a way of, I'm just going to get some movement in. I don't need to
Mhm.
push. I just need to get in there and like, cool. If I get myself in there, or even if you tell yourself, I'm just going to do my favorite movements, at least it's movement and it gets that momentum going and it'll help you feel a little better. So it's okay to kind of downgrade what it is you have on the books just to get yourself to do something, just to take some action. And of course, the little things being getting enough sleep, that's also going to support your mental health, and nutrition. That's going to be something that supports your mental health, and getting blood work, taking supplements if that's something that is also having an impact on,
Hydration.
yeah, hydration. That is also something. So you just want to make sure you're not overloading yourself in those times where you're easily overwhelmed. And you might even have like your plan and then your plan B, which is like days where you feel good, days where you feel overwhelmed. And so you can go to plan B on those days so that you have something and it's set up nothing and you don't feel like you failed because at least you have this other plan that you still stuck to, which you already made acceptable, and then you keep going. So yeah,
Yeah.
that would be my biggest advice there.
Yeah. So, hey, what are some signs that your mental health might be dragging down your workouts?
If you're feeling weak, you're feeling tired, but you're still eating well, you're getting enough sleep, and maybe you're just feeling like you got the weight on your shoulder, like the weight of the world on your
Hmm.
shoulders, or you've got a lot in your mind, or you've been experiencing a lot of anxiety either that day or the day before. Because as you know, if you're someone who experiences a lot of anxiety, you have a little bit of a anxiety hangover. Your body is tired
It's
from
exhausting.
shooting out all that adrenaline for extended periods of time. So yeah, it's one of those, if there's nothing else contributing, tech with yourself mentally, because it could be stress weighing on you.
And what about if somebody's struggling, like really, really struggling with depression? I know you've had some clients, including me, dealing with this. What's the first thing you'd have them do? Kind, six.
Yeah, I think that's a circumstance where it would also be, what is something you feel, even if it's small, even if it's tiny, something that's realistic for you to do,
Mhm.
each day, and just
Yeah.
building momentum.
If someone is like really struggling with depression, what is like the first thing you'd have them do to kind of help them get some momentum going?
Definitely would be one of those circumstances where you have to ask, what is something you can realistically do, even if it's small. And if it's something that's realistic, something you can stick to, it'll help you build momentum and kind of build more confidence in yourself and, give you a little hit of dopamine, which it always helps, especially in those moments of depression. So, yeah, it's just knowing that every little small thing counts. I think we're just we're so, likely to be like, well, I could do this and it's like a 10-minute walk but then feel like, but that's not going to do anything. But it does,
Exactly.
it helps you build momentum, and that's always the most important thing. So, yeah, whatever you can
Every
control.
Yeah. Every action you take compounds, right?
Yeah,
Every single one.
exactly. Yep, for sure. So, moving on to the next part, which is motivation. This is a big one. That's a question I get all the time of like, how do you stay motivated? And it's very cliche and I feel like talked about a lot in the fitness space. And you've probably heard people say like motivation is overrated or it's bullshit. And, not wrong, because it's great when you feel motivated, but you're not going to feel motivated all the time. And that's just the ugly truth. There's going to be times where you feel bored, where you don't want to do something, but unfortunately, you got to do it anyways. Are you always motivated to go to work? No, but
Fuck
you have
no.
to. If you want to keep a roof over your head or you have a family, it's like you have to do things that you don't want to because it's best for you and it's best for your family and etc. So you have to kind of see everything else the same way. Do you want to go out and hit your steps? No. It sounds awful, especially when it's hot, but it's something that you need to do in order to take care of yourself. So it's just like all of those little things, sometimes you do have to just push yourself when motivation is not there and try to remember how you feel afterwards. Cause usually, you do get a little dopamine hit every time you kind of check off a task. And it's all about chasing that kind of earned dopamine versus the cheap dopamine of scrolling on your phone and, you know, whatever it is that you get those cheap dopamine hits with. It's like our dopamine is so watered down and we have so many different sources we could get it from, like food, TV, your phone, that we forget that we also get dopamine from doing things and completing tasks and taking actions. That's even something that I'm trying to tell myself, like, hey, if you want to chase some dopamine, why don't you get some shit done, instead of diving into uh, Twitter threads or something and,
Mhm.
like talking shit. Yeah, I don't know. So like,
No, I
um, yeah, so motivation, you will feel motivated sometimes, especially in the beginning of any plan, but it kind of comes in waves. So there's times that it's going to be there, and that's great. Ride that wave when it's there, but it's going to
take advantage
dip.
of it.
Yeah. So during those moments of higher motivation, that's when you really want to make sure you're instilling your new, more, healthy habits, building those foundations so well so that when motivation starts to dip, you're able to stick to them still because it's become second nature. It's become your life and it feels weirder not to do those things. That's when
Mhm.
you're set, you're solid. Like you can keep going, even if it's not quite as fun, as it used to be, but still got to do it because got to keep your best interests in mind. So you have those days where you're like, oh, I just don't feel like doing anything. Uh, and maybe you have a lot to do. And a lot of times when we say, I don't feel like doing anything, what you mean is, I just don't feel like doing this. And you feel like checking out, you feel like scrolling on your phone, you feel like watching TV. But if you just literally did nothing, you would find out how quickly you actually didn't want to just do nothing. It's like,
Mhm.
then it's a surefire way to realize you're just avoiding something. So it's like, are you tired? Do you not want to do anything? Or are you
Mhm.
just avoiding something? So a
Mhm.
little trick there to figure out the true
That's
answer to that.
brilliant.
So yeah, micro commitment ideas. If you're struggling to make commitments and you want to make those tiny little things, like, even if it's something as small as doing like 10 push-ups, once you finish a task, just to get some movement in, packing your gym bag the night before. So you're just setting your environment up for success, along with your water bottle or just whatever you can do to keep like tasks as simple and as the least resistant possible. Because when you are overwhelmed or not motivated, any resistance is going to be a reason your brain's going to be like, oh, nope, we can't
Nope,
do that.
I'm done.
Uh, yeah. So you just got to plan ahead and plan for not being motivated. Don't plan for your best days, plan for your worst days and what you won't want to do when you're not fucking feeling it. So, yeah.
Mm. Why do you think people wait for motivation instead of just starting small?
I think they just think that starting small doesn't do anything,
Didn't
or,
do anything.
they think that that motivation is going to come around, but really it's action comes before motivation.
Mhm.
So you might not ever feel motivated and you might never start because you haven't taken any action. So you really have to make sure you are taking action, which should be a very small step, even little small steps, even if that's taking your vitamins can be a small action forward.
It's huge.
Yeah, because it's like an indicator. Oh, I took my vitamins. I'm working on my health, and in
Mhm.
turn, then you start thinking, what else can I do? I feel
Mhm.
good about taking those vitamins and taking care of my health. Whereas usually I'm just like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
And then when you take them, you're like, cool. Okay, what's the next thing? So yeah, I
Yeah.
think
I
that's
feel
the
like
main reason.
that all or nothing can really fuck you over, like it it's like that idea of like if you only have 50% to give that day, then that's 100% of the effort you have available. So give it, right? And it's better than giving zero because you're still doing something and it'll still get you further than just nada.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's yeah, I think also people think it should be easier when you're
Oh my
motivated.
gosh.
And so you're
Mhm.
like, well, I'm not gonna do it now because that would be exponentially harder than if I was motivated to change or do things. And
Mhm.
spoiler, you're never gonna be completely motivated to change. I mean, even you might be, but uh if you never take that action, you're just we don't see the benefit if we don't see the benefit of things right away, we tend to stop doing it. So you have to
Yeah.
also remember a lot of things take time. So that's why even doing those little small things is kind of like an instant little reminder of an accomplishment, little little dopamine hit can kind of help get you through those times where you've got a
Yeah.
lot of time to wait to see the benefits of what you're even doing. And I think that's the hard part about health and fitness is that it does take time, and humans are humans and we want to see instant progress, instant gratification.
Now more than
And
ever.
you just can't expect that. You have to expect that, I mean, maybe some of that instant gratification could be that you're checking off a list, give yourself something to see and track your consistency. That itself can show that you're progressing, to show like, oh, I did that, I did that, I did that. Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
just kind of waiting and like, I can't tell if I'm making progress and that
Mhm.
sort of thing. So always pay attention to consistency, pay attention to the process, and don't focus so much on just the outcome because it's going to be a second or
Yeah.
a lot of seconds.
Or a lot of seconds. And I think also, like, people can fall into that trap of, like, seeing people and their daily routines on social media, right? And, like, everything they're doing and accomplishing in a day or whatever, and how good they look, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I don't know how many times you've had to put on your profile on Instagram, like, "This took 7, 8, 9, 10 years." You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, this was not overnight, but there's this like instant gratification that everybody's addicted to, and a lot of people are misleading and make you think that like if you do these things you should get to this point in 90 days or whatever, but it's like everybody's made differently, everybody has to go at their own pace, and comparison of yourself to anybody else than yourself is like just a recipe for disaster and for like the least motivation you could possibly have.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So don't
um,
get stuck comparing yourself.
no. Yeah. Definitely don't want to do that. Careful. It's a good way to just feel shittier and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
never feel motivated that way.
Yeah.
Um, so, the next pillar here, uh, how do you incorporate discipline without burning out? Um, and I think we get confused and think that discipline is about being so rigid that you just never make mistakes. You never have that cookie or you never skip a day at the gym. Um, but discipline is more about minimizing decisions and building structure, something that becomes habit that you kind of can do on autopilot. And that takes a long time to get there. But yeah, discipline is also maybe about not being impulsive and making decisions about things in the moment of what you want. And it's a trade about what you want in that moment versus, what you want or need long term.
Mhm.
And again, it just comes down to that instant gratification, uh, but also, not just falling off uh, the wagon because you let up and had a cookie, and you're like, damn, I'm supposed to be more disciplined than that.
It's
That
over.
Yeah, that's gonna be, a fast track to feeling burned out, if you're feeling too restricted. Um, but basically i- you need some flexibility, but too much flexibility is chaos. Like you're gonna run into that decision fatigue. You're gonna be running into inconsistency. So yeah, again, discipline is more about structure than it is about making each decision. uh, don't practice discipline by keeping shit in your house and being like, I'm going to practice discipline, so I'm going to keep all this around me and just keep trying to push
I'm
it
gonna say
away.
no.
Right. Because there's a law out there. There's a new law of thermodynamics, and that is
It
uh, if something is in your environment for long enough, eventually, yes, you are going to eat it. It is inevitable because we're human and we don't have infinite amounts of self control. You only have so many. And each decision that you make, that self control, that discipline, that it's like you're taking a chip off the discipline block and you're just
Mhm.
whittling it down with each decision. And
Yeah.
so you have to make sure you're making less decisions throughout the day so that you don't put yourself in those situations where the impulse takes over or the discipline is just gone because you've used it all up for the day.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, flexibility, but not too much flexibility to where chaos is born. and making sure you don't expect yourself to be perfect. If you're you're not doing, you're not hanging out with friends or whatever because you have training, or you don't go to events because of training. I mean, if you're a bodybuilder and you're in prep, that's one thing. That's a different story. But if you're just like an everyday looking to build muscle and, uh, looking to be so perfect that you skip out on social events or family events, that's a problem in the other direction. And it's another way that you're going to burn out because you're going to hate it. You're going to start resent it and be like, damn, I'm not having any fun because I just keep saying no because I have to go to the gym or I can't eat that food. So yeah, again, there's a fine line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
So, what's the difference between discipline and perfectionism?
yeah. So again, like discipline is not about being perfect. It's about setting up those foundations and, you know,
Yeah.
setting yourself up for success, setting up your environment for success, and, not creating an environment where you're more tempted and all that. But perfectionism, one, it's impossible. Um, so it's
Yeah.
like you're not aiming to be perfect, you're aiming to like be 80%.
Hmm.
And also having a like structure and plan in place if you do go out or, have a treat or something, either your plan is cool, I'll just get back on track tomorrow, or, maybe you have less carbs with your lunch and your breakfast if you're going out to dinner for a family function. So you just can't be perfect. It's just not real. Um, you're gonna fuck yourself over trying. So yeah,
I mean, every time. Yeah, that's a surefire way to burn out too.
yeah,
Surefire.
yeah. Nutrition, so, as you know, is a performance tool, and the foundation of nutrition, how this all impacts everything. So one way that you can kind of shift nutrition from being like unfun and fucking awful and just not resenting your food and, being able to make it sustainable. So instead of looking at food as just, what can you eat to lose weight, but also looking at what will help me feel and perform better. And this is something that you start to learn more and more as you get into things. Like when the more you work out and the more you're in the gym, you start to pay attention and understand how certain foods make you feel, and that is going to be a motivator to eat better, eventually. So that's why, even when they say, like, oh, you can't out train a bad diet, true. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't train if you don't change your diet, because chances are when you start training, you are more likely to pay attention to how certain foods make you feel. And if you feel better and you perform better, that's going to be a motivator to start changing what you're eating. Because then you're like, well, I could feel this good all the time, or I
Hmm.
could see more progress if I eat this way. So that's always a thing for me. Like, yeah, you might not see the changes and the progress you want to see, but whatever you got to do to get the momentum going, keep doing it. So yeah, performance, paying attention to that instead of obsessing over weight loss in the scale, very important. Even if you're trying to lose weight, just, focusing on performance is a great way to kind of just not get sucked in by it. So other things. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but
Speaking of, you know, not focusing on foods that'll help you lose weight versus foods that'll help you perform better. What if somebody like wants to perform better in the gym, but they don't know where to start? What are the small things you would tell somebody to focus on as far as their nutrition goes?
yeah, and just keep it simple. Focus on protein as, the foundation of your meals. Make sure you're eating balanced meals. So having protein, carbs, and fats with each meal.
Yeah.
Just so, you're keeping your energy levels stable, keeping your blood sugar more stable. And even if you're not logging your food at the time and you just create like a plate template of this amount of carbs, this amount of protein and fats, you're going to be, making more progress than if you just disregarded it altogether.
And go suck it
So
mode.
Yeah. So it's like, even if you're not in a place where you can track, or maybe you don't want to, it's always good to still pay attention to your nutrition and make a balanced plate to start.
What do you think
Yeah.
most people get wrong about healthy eating?
I mean, again, feeling like they got to be perfect. And also, I feel like people, when they think, like, if the food tastes too good, they think they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
And it's like, no, healthy food does not have to taste like shit. If your food tastes like shit, that's when you're doing something wrong, because it doesn't have
Mhm.
to. Uh, you got to keeping it simple, and, using salt, using spices, using sauces, things to really,
Seasoning.
yeah, things to really like help, because if you, if you meal prep and you don't like the food and you're not going to eat it, then it's not going to work
Then
for you. It's
it'll
not going to be
sit in your
sustainable.
fridge.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'll
Yeah,
just order
you're not
DoorDash,
wrong.
and then you're losing money and all
That's
that.
right.
Yeah. So,
I have done that before. Like, I think, don't sue me, trifecta, but like one time I ordered like trifecta, we used to order a little bit of trifecta, and I was ordering their meals, but it was just so terrible. And that shit went to waste because it did not taste like anything. Learning how to season your food is, I know, something you harp on, like, and it doesn't even take a lot to season food to make it taste good.
yeah.
It's funny, you always say, thanks for putting up with eating this bodybuilding food when you cook for me. But I'm like, this is the best food I've eaten in my life. It's so delicious.
Yeah, seasoning goes a long way. And I
Hmm.
think people think that if they salt their food, it's unhealthy. I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings about food
Yeah.
needing to be healthy. They think that you can't have salt. Your body needs salt. It needs it. Like, the only reason that you would want to decrease salt intake is if you were someone who's sensitive to it and you already have high blood pressure. But the majority of the population, you're gonna sweat it out. It's not an issue for most people. Again, there's the outliers. Maybe you're more sodium sensitive, but in general, if you're just looking to lose weight, you don't need to track your salts. uh,
Right.
it's not like it's a calorie. It's not going to make you gain weight if you use salt. So yeah, season your
Yeah.
food, people.
Seasoning your food, it makes a huge difference.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Should I move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pillar
S-
number 5.
So, the power of small wins and confidence. And I already kind of talked about this a little bit, but, it's like, when you do what you say you were going to do, following through for yourself helps you build more confidence in yourself and lets you see that you're capable of actually following through. And therefore, you start to wonder, what else can I do? And the more you follow
Mhm.
through, the more you can, make more advantageous goals, take it one step at a time, and really start to trust that you're going to be able to get that shit done. Um, and just doing it. And I think we get in trouble a lot by overthinking it and kind of just going into freeze mode. Um, but
Yeah,
taking
absolutely.
taking action, even if it's messy and imperfect, is going to be a lot better than not taking any action at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. Think about it like learning to play an instrument. You don't just start playing Beethoven, right? You start
Nope.
playing like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or Chopsticks.
Yeah.
Right? You got to
Yeah.
start with the basics. And even though it's little, like the more you do it, the more you practice it, eventually you get to Beethoven. Sorry, that was such a nerdy thing to say, but it just popped in my
No,
head.
No, it's a perfect example, because if you think about it, everything we do in life, we kind of accept that it's going to take a certain amount of time. We know that there's certain steps we have to take, whether it's going to college and knowing we have to fulfill prerequisites, knowing that it's at
Yeah.
least going to take 4 years. And if you really want to do it, that doesn't stop you. You go through each step, or, you want to play a sport, you're going to know that you're going to suck at it. I mean, not always. Sometimes that also stops people from playing.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't expect to, like, just start playing soccer and then, you feel like you're ready for the professional leagues. But for some reason, when it comes to fitness or bodybuilding, like, the first day, or even people just think about it, they think that they should be able to compete with the pros in like a week or something or a
Yeah.
month. And it's just
Yeah.
why is there this disconnect with health and fitness where we don't want it to take more time, but there really isn't any other option. And we accept other things that don't have other options besides time, but we just cannot seem to grasp. Like, this is something that takes time. It always will, always has. There is no way
Yeah.
around it. I wish there was, but there just isn't.
Right. And I think that along with that, like when you start playing a sport, what do you start like basketball? You start by taking shots, right? And
Yeah.
then like the more shots you make, the more confident you get. Then you go further. You start taking threes once you master like those free throws or whatever. You know what I mean? Like so it's like building on that, like I said before, compounding on that progress, those your confidence will get higher, and you'll start to believe in yourself more, and it will literally become like intrinsic in who you are, your day to day life, um, and just your self belief. And it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. And the more shots you take, the more you're going to make. Might miss a lot along the way, but you're going to make
Yeah.
more just by trying. So maybe you're going to fail a shit ton, but if you keep trying, eventually you're going to start, making progress. It's
Yeah.
one of those things. So yeah, always good to try than not try at all. Um, yeah, so if we have, examples of starting small to get your confidence up, it could be something as small as hitting a water goal. That's actually surprisingly hard. um,
It is.
it's hard, but it's simple and usually at least doable as a starting point. That could be a little confidence booster. Also helps you
Yeah.
feel better and digest things better. So that's a huge win. Uh, Even if it's walks 3 times a week or hitting your protein goal, just starting with that. These are all
Yeah.
little things you can start with to help build some confidence. Give your brain some evidence that you can do it. So yeah, right.
Very true. It's
Alright.
amazing how much with water, I've started to I think you've gotten into my head a little bit. Just a little bit. Like, the first thing I say to myself now, like, when I'm like, I feel like shit. I'm like, "How much water have I had today?" And usually the answer is, like, none.
Yeah,
Makes a big difference.
yeah. It's funny how that works, but
Yeah.
yeah. So you start to be mindful and figure out, why you might feel like shit sometimes. And it's usually those like small things you're missing out on, those foundations. So get the foundations down first and kind of move on from there. Make it,
Yeah.
just you're just like you can go and I don't know what the word is I'm searching for right now. Second nature.
There you go.
Eventually it will become second nature and you won't need motivation because it's just you do it out of habit. It's hard when you get out of that habit to get back into it, but that's probably like,
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of already covered it where you just start small again, not starting over. You're starting from
Right.
experience. So it's not 100% like, oh no, I feel like I'm starting from square one. It's like, no,
Right.
like do what you did when you started. Start small, do little things, and then work up from there. Oh, yeah.
And speaking of, somebody has done a fantastic job with consistency, and they say, "I'm gonna reward myself." Um, what are healthy ways you can do that? Because I know it's very, very possible for it to backfire if you reward yourself in the wrong way. So can you
Yeah.
talk about how you help clients do that?
Yeah, you generally don't wanna sabotage yourself and reward yourself with food if you're on a weight loss journey. There's a time and a place, we culturally, we tend to celebrate with food, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. But, part of the process is learning other coping strategies outside of just that, but something that's more in line with your goals. So maybe that's new shoes for
Mm.
walking. That's
Yeah.
a great one because who doesn't like new shoes? And it feels better when you're walking or maybe a new, like wearable, a fitness watch. When you start walking more regularly, you're like, oh, once hit my 10K steps 2 weeks in a row, I'm going to buy myself a new Fitbit or something. So it's like something that supports the goals that you're already doing is a great way to, not only treat yourself, but keep yourself going because you're like supplementing what you're already doing. Um, Or maybe you need to get to bed on time. Maybe you could buy yourself something sleep related, like for you, some new sheets. Like
Never enough sheets.
or something that makes you feel nice and cozy in bed, a new pillow, whatever it is. So when you can reward yourself with things that are in line with the goals you're making, it's a great way to keep yourself going and kind of subconsciously keep motivating yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all, unless you can think of other things that, kind of.
I know. I mean, I think we've covered it all. If you guys have any questions, definitely let us know. You talked about mental health. Definitely that's number one.
Hmm.
Yeah. So should we
Yeah.
just close it on up?
Yeah. And I think the last thing to hammer home is just knowing you're not always going to feel like it. It is not always going to be easy. Sometimes you really just do have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and like fucking
It's
do
true.
the thing.
Just
You'll
do
feel
the
better
thing.
afterwards, especially if it's like a small thing that you're avoiding. Um, there is no escaping just doing the thing in any aspect of life. So no different here.
Very true.
Yeah. All right. So to recap, mental health is your base, it's your foundation for everything. You got to make sure you're taking care of that. Also, remember, motivation comes after action. So take that action first. Don't just wait to be motivated. Discipline is structure, it is not punishment. And nutrition, always look for it to be fueling your performance. Pay attention to performance versus, just the scale weight. And, you know, just so you don't get caught up in feeling like you're not getting anywhere, if the scale's not moving, etc. If you're still getting the gym, if you're still making PRs, that is also important. Uh, and small wins build confidence. So just remember that. If you're thinking something is just too small, it's not going to do anything. Nah, like think otherwise. It's going to help you build confidence. So even if just building confidence is the purpose, that is the main results of it. Cool, do it. Yeah. So yeah.
Just do it.
Oh, it's amazing that Nike knew that slogan. It's like, yep,
Got that one real good.
yeah, they got that one right. Just do it, because that's all you can really do sometimes. But yeah, so I think we can wrap this one up. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. If you have any other topic suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or if there's anything else. But yeah, Dez, did you want to leave the audience any last words of wisdom?
Oh my gosh, no pressure. No, I mean, just we're all so hard on ourselves. We're all so hard on ourselves, and a little pushing yourself a little bit is definitely not a bad thing. But just try to be kind to yourself, and yeah, like don't remember the all or nothing just sets you up for failure. That's essentially what it boils down to. Every little action that you take is a vote towards the person you want to be, right? James Clear. And you just got to keep going. Just keep going and lean on your friends, lean on your coach if you're struggling. And just remind yourself you can do it, because you can.
Word.
That's all I got.
Yeah, that's great. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Peace out, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.